Planning a life like this was just not on the horizon. Stable, normal, happy life and upbringing is something that is the most important thing to us.
The spotlight on Usha Vance, the U.S. Second Lady, has always been bright, but today, the focus is on something much more personal and far more heartbreaking. For years, we've admired her strength, grace, and dedication, but behind her poised public persona, there's a side to her life that remains largely untold. From private struggles to shocking revelations, the truth behind the headlines may leave you stunned. What has Usha been hiding, and why is this moment in her life one of the hardest she's ever faced? Stay with us as we peel back the layers of Usha Vance's life, revealing the raw truth behind the headlines. You won't want to miss this. A stellar legal career. Usha Vance's stellar legal career is a testament to her intelligence, discipline, and commitment to the legal field. Her journey began with an exceptional academic record, graduating summa cum laude from Yale University in 2007 with a degree in history. During her time at Yale, she demonstrated a strong dedication to community service, volunteering in elementary schools and leading a Girl Scouts troop, which showcased her early leadership and mentorship qualities. Her academic pursuits continued at Clare College, Cambridge, where she earned an MPhil in early modern history as a Gates Cambridge Scholar. There, she deepened her understanding of historical scholarship and intellectual movements, an experience that further sharpened her analytical skills that would later define her legal career. Her path in the legal world took a significant leap when she attended Yale Law School, where she refined her expertise in constitutional law and judicial interpretation. It was at Yale that she met her future husband, J.D. Vance, forming both a personal and professional partnership that would shape her future. Upon graduating, Usha secured prestigious clerkships with some of the most influential legal minds in the country. She first clerked for Judge Amul Thapar on the Sixth Circuit Court of Appeals, then for Judge Brett Kavanaugh on the D.C. Circuit Court, and ultimately for Chief Justice John Roberts at the U.S. Supreme Court. These experiences placed her at the heart of major judicial decision-making processes, allowing her to engage with complex constitutional cases and shaping her profound legal expertise. Usha went to the prestigious Munger, Tolles and Olson after her respective clerkships, specializing in complex civil litigation and appeals. Her areas of practice were widely varied, including education, local government, entertainment, and technology. Her fame grew as one of the most logically sharp and strategically inclined legal minds. Usha's reputation grew into that of a colleague well respected for her handling of high-profile litigation and the provision of strategic legal advice. During her tenure at this firm, Usha had kept busy with many policy and governance issues, often inserting herself into the public debate on these legal and political topics. Such experience secured her with a solid standing as a near-behind-the-scenes activist in the conservative legal society and a kind of informal advisor to her husband's political career. Even more so than her immense low-key presence, Usha's legal expertise has shaped policy discussions and judicial appointments to great effect. Many believe that her knowledge and experience have also heavily influenced J.D. Vance's ideas regarding constitutional law, judicial philosophy, and governance. What Usha's legal life does summon, though, is her capacity to use her leverage and make changes in favor of future legal reasoning and policies championed by the conservative movement. Although on active practice less in recent years, such a background positions her to become someone quite instrumental in shaping what legal conversation transpires in the Republican Party. With her coming career either re-entering the laity for overt legal advocacy or remaining a quiet though powerful behind-the-scenes player, Usha Vance is savagely still one of the most powerful contemporary legal figures in American politics. Her formidable legal career not only cemented her influence in the legal world but also became a driving force in shaping the political ascent of her husband, J.D. Vance. J.D. and Usha Vance, a political power duo. The relationship between J.D. and Usha Vance is a compelling example of how two highly intelligent and ambitious individuals from vastly different backgrounds can come together to form a powerful political and intellectual partnership. Their story began at Yale Law School in 2010, where they met during a group project focused on social decline in white America. While J.D. grew up in a working-class family in Ohio, shaped by the struggles he described in his best-selling memoir Hillbilly Elegy, Usha was raised in an upper-middle-class Indian-American family in San Diego, where education and professional success were deeply valued. Despite their differences, their shared intellectual curiosity and mutual respect fostered a deep connection that would ultimately shape both of their careers. Over the years, their bond strengthened to the extent that it culminated in their marriage in Kentucky in 2014, which was representative of their different cultures and religions. The ceremony included a Bible reading followed by a Hindu blessing that marked their commitment to honoring each other. Such an ability to channel tradition and transcend cultural and ideological boundaries has characterized this relationship and its navigation through the sorrows and joys of life. Usha has been a strong pillar of support for J.D. as he has transformed himself from a best-selling author to a venture capitalist and now to a well-known conservative politician. Her legal grounding and strategic insight into political advocacy have contributed significantly to J.D.'s political philosophy, his views on judicial appointments, and interpretations of the Constitution. In the past, Usha was among J.D.'s closest counselors, especially during the vice presidential race of 2024. Usha took on leadership in debate preparation, policy positions, and campaign strategy to ensure that J.D.'s arguments were legally defensible and politically persuasive. She wasn't just support, she captured J.D.'s messages and persona in public during a very critical and often perilous time in national-level politics. The couple worked on political advice as well as various social and community projects, especially those geared towards economic mobility, education, and legal reforms, an obvious synergy illustrating their mutual commitment to uplifting the lives of working-class Americans. Even with bright shining destinies in their respective careers in the public eye, J.D. and Usha have been extremely committed to their family. The couple has 3 children, Ewan, Vivek, and Mirabelle, bringing them through the public and professional spheres. Usha manages motherhood, lawyering, and political participation expeditiously. Proof of her adaptability and strength lies therein. This power couple, in today's terms, has each partner endowed with unique strengths, J.D. as the populist paradigm for policy vision and Usha with her sharp legal insight and strategic acumen. Together, they have carved out a niche for something larger than self-interest in American politics, proving that their collective efficacy as a team is far superior to individual achievements. Usha Vance's evolution, law, politics, and influence. Usha Vance's transition from a distinguished legal career to a key political strategist has been a testament to her adaptability and intellectual depth. After spending years mastering constitutional law and complex litigation, she seamlessly moved into a more strategic role as her husband, J.D. Vance, entered the political arena. Her experiences clerking for Judge Amul Thapar, Judge Brett Kavanaugh, and Chief Justice John Roberts provided her with a deep understanding of judicial decision-making and constitutional interpretation, which would later prove invaluable in the political sphere. At Munger, Tolles and Olson, she honed her ability to analyze intricate legal cases and navigate high-stakes legal battles, skills that would later translate into crafting policy strategies and political messaging. As J.D. Vance embarked on his 2024 vice presidential campaign, Usha took on a crucial behind-the-scenes role, helping to refine his debate performances, policy positions, and overall campaign strategy. Her ability to distill complex legal and policy issues into clear, compelling arguments proved to be a major asset during J.D.'s campaign, particularly as he faced scrutiny over his shifting political stance and evolving conservative ideology. While J.D. delivered the speeches, Usha was in the background, ensuring that his positions were legally sound, politically effective, and aligned with the broader conservative agenda. Her presence in his campaign highlighted the intersection of law, governance, and political strategy, making her an indispensable figure in his rise to national prominence. In addition to direct campaign work, Usha's legal training offers her a unique advantage in shaping policy strategy, particularly concerning judicial appointments and laws touching on constitutionalism. She was instrumental in helping J.D. evaluate the legal risks relating to multiple policy proposals so that J.D.'s views would survive both judicial scrutiny and opposition from the political arena. This ability to align legal and political strategies made her a force in sending by setting Republican legal and governance priorities over the long term and situating herself to greatly influence the party's ideological and legal direction. She mostly did so behind the scenes, yet her strategic influence showed in every portion of J.D.'s political journey. Usha Vance's transformation into a political strategist further signifies her allegiance to public service and conservative governance. She could have remained in the private practice of law, but instead, her choice to ally herself with politics signals an ambition far beyond simply influencing national policy and legal discourse. She will influence whether it is behind closed doors or eventually, in the full light of day. Political observers think it is rather to say she is more than a supportive spouse but rather a force in her own right who could impact Republican policy and judicial philosophy for decades to come. Usha's rise in political circles. Usha Vance's political background has been a subject of interest, particularly in contrast to her husband, J.D. Vance's, transformation from a Trump critic to a staunch conservative figure. While she has largely remained out of the public political arena, her past political affiliations and career choices have led to speculation about her ideological stance. Usha was a registered Democrat until 2014, a fact that has fueled discussions about whether her political views align with her husband's or if she holds more centrist or independent perspectives. Her professional background as a corporate lawyer at Munger, Tolles & Olson, a firm known for representing high-profile progressive clients, has also raised questions about her role in conservative politics. Some critics argue that her legal career contradicts J.D. Vance's populist rhetoric, while supporters maintain that her career choices were based on professional merit rather than political ideology. Regardless of the interpretation, her past affiliations continue to shape public perception of her role in J.D.'s political rise. Additionally, Usha's education at Yale Law School, where she met J.D. Vance, has drawn scrutiny. Yale is often considered a hub for progressive legal thought, leading some to speculate that she may privately hold more moderate or liberal views. However, she has remained largely apolitical in public, making it difficult to determine her exact political inclinations. Her reserved approach contrasts with the outspoken nature of many other political spouses, adding to the intrigue surrounding her political identity. As J.D. Vance proceeds in his political career, Usha's involvement, either in backrooms or directly, will remain debatable. Admittedly not an overtly political figure, her background, connections, and legal skills set her in a leading position for political discourse in conservative circles. From a vantage point, there will be always to comment on the political story, whether she goes for more active participation or stays behind the scenes, given the nature of her presence in J.D. Vance's career. Many felt skepticism aside, some view Usha's political metamorphosis as a consistent evolution born out of life experiences and changing priorities. Supporters argue that political views are fluid and often shaped by marriage and family, exposure to political currents, and different ideologies of thought. Many point to how the couple's shared identity within parenthood and professional endeavors in contemporary America likely impacted their shared perspective. Moreover, it is common for political views to change within the context of marriage, and it is possible that Usha's generation in lockstep with her husband's views signals genuine ideological change rather than mere opportunism. In another way, her considered silence on the subject only adds fuel to speculation near absence from the media spotlight altogether, one thing which many feel her refusal to make a public statement on her political conversion has made it an even hotter debate concerning what she actually believes. Her quiet yet undeniable presence in conservative politics makes her both a subject of speculation and a challenge to traditional ideological boundaries, a dynamic further intensified by the racial backlash she faces due to her Indian heritage. Racist backlash due to Indian heritage. Usha Vance has faced racist backlash due to her Indian heritage, especially as her husband, J.D. Vance, rises in Republican politics. As the spouse of a high-profile conservative figure, she has become a target for far-right extremists and white nationalist groups who view her background as incompatible with their vision of American identity. These groups have spread xenophobic rhetoric, questioning her place in the conservative movement and attacking her for being of Indian descent. Despite being born and raised in the United States, she has been subjected to racist insults and conspiracy theories attempting to discredit her. The attacks against Usha have been especially prominent on social media, where white supremacist and nationalist figures have attempted to paint J.D. Vance as inauthentic because of his marriage to a woman of Indian heritage. Some extremists have suggested that her background undermines J.D.'s populist and nationalist messaging, exposing a contradiction in the Republican Party's handling of diversity. This backlash reflects a broader trend in which public figures with immigrant backgrounds, especially women of color, become targets of racialized political attacks. J.D. Vance has publicly condemned the racist criticism directed at his wife, calling it vile and unacceptable. He has reaffirmed his love and respect for Usha, emphasizing that she is an American citizen, a devoted mother, and an accomplished legal professional. However, some critics argue that his past association with nationalist rhetoric and anti-immigration policies has emboldened the very groups that now attack his wife. This irony has fueled debate over the role of race in conservative politics and whether J.D.'s rise in the MAGA movement has come at the cost of exposing his own family to racial hatred. Usha Vance's affair highlights the racist double standards that still prevail in American politics. She has generally kept to herself, yet the invective against her indicates deep currents about race, identity, and inclusion inside the conservative movement. Whether J.D. Vance and his supporters will still refrain from such racist narratives is something that needs to be seen. But having Usha in his life really does challenge certain far-right ideologies, making her both a figure of progress as well as controversy in the Republican landscape. Another dimension to the backlash directed toward Usha Vance is how this becomes a boundary marker, even in performative allyship in certain political quarters. While J.D. Vance has denounced the racist attacks against his wife, his association with people and movements that have long favored exclusionary rhetoric raises the question of the authenticity and efficacy of his position. Simply denouncing white nationalist attacks in a political environment tolerating or even cultivating those sentiments does not suffice, critics contend. In fact, this encapsulates a bigger problem in conservative politics, as leaders attempt to win a diverse voter base while playing along with factions that push for nativist or xenophobic ideas. Usha's experience is thus not a mere personal fight but the litmus test of the new Republican Party on matters of race, identity, and shifting ideology. In addition to the personal, the backlash of racism against Usha Vance cuts deeper and speaks about the larger fight of the Republican Party as to where it stands regarding race and diversity. Portions of the party, at present, have tried to expand their appeal to non-white voters while still maintaining some hardliners whose rhetoric remains as exclusionary as ever, just like that of Usha. This contradiction within the party constitutes the site of debate on whether the party can come to embrace an authentic multicultural vision of conservatism or if indeed J.D. Vance is caught between placating a far-right base and offering a more inclusive front to the broader electorate. The probing faced by Usha is thus an alarming reminder that identity, whether racial or cultural, still proves to be a fraught topic in American politics, notwithstanding the increasing diversity of its citizenry. In 2021, J.D. Vance made a controversial remark about the state of American leadership, stating that the country was being run by a bunch of childless cat ladies. This comment, which resurfaced during his 2024 vice presidential campaign, sparked widespread criticism from various political and social circles. Many viewed it as an unnecessary attack on individuals without children, particularly women, and an example of outdated gender norms. Critics argued that a person's parental status has no bearing on their leadership abilities and that the comment alienated a significant portion of the population. Usha Vance, J.D.'s wife, came to his defense, explaining that his words were meant as a critique of how modern society often undervalues parenthood rather than a direct attack on childless individuals. She stated that her husband deeply respects women and families and that his remarks were meant to highlight the challenges parents face in balancing work and family life. However, this defense did little to quiet the backlash, as many saw the comment as reinforcing harmful stereotypes. Some public figures, including prominent female politicians, pushed back, arguing that childlessness is often not a choice and should not be used as a measure of personal or professional success. The subsequent conversations activated by the turmoil plunged into remarkably contentious subjects of gender and the social expectations that are conventionally placed on women. Many women in the workforce, as well as the rest, fought back against the term cat lady, declaring it a quite belittling stereotype that asserts that single, childless women are somehow incomplete. This term hints at a rejection of women's choices and a woman's lifestyle, thus reinforcing conventional family structures as the best. The supporters of Vance, on the other hand, maintained that it was just an attention grinder, the policies that support families and children, which are sewn down in silence by those who are childless. J.D. Vance would not apologize for the comment completely under pressure. He argued that strong families form the microstructure of a successful society and policymakers should pay more attention to the plight of parents. To many, though, the word was beyond repair. Critics said it exposed an innate bias in his way of thinking. No matter how one sees it, whether as innocent words or as carrying a deeper ideological import, the issue surrounding childless cat ladies marks a watershed in Vance's political future, one fitted to undermine the culture wars still being fiercely contested over gender, family, and authority in contemporary America. Usha Vance's legal career at Munger, Tolles & Olson has been a focal point of controversy, with critics questioning whether her professional background aligns with the populist, anti-elitist messaging of her husband, J.D. Vance. The prestigious law firm, known for its progressive values and high-profile corporate clients, has long been associated with diversity, inclusion, and social justice initiatives, stances that seem at odds with the conservative and nationalist rhetoric that J.D. Vance has embraced. This apparent contradiction has led to accusations of hypocrisy, as J.D. has positioned himself as an anti-establishment, populist Republican who frequently criticizes the influence of elite institutions, yet his wife built a career in one of the most elite law firms in the country. Critics argue that this dynamic undermines J.D.'s credibility and raises questions about whether the Vance's public messaging is driven by genuine beliefs or political expediency. Adding to the scrutiny, Usha's work at Munger, Tolles & Olson involved representing major corporate clients, including entities from industries that J.D. Vance has publicly criticized, such as big tech and entertainment companies. While J.D. has railed against the political and cultural dominance of elite corporations, his wife's legal career was deeply embedded in that very world. Some opponents argue that this contradiction suggests that J.D.'s populist branding is more of a political persona than a reflection of his real-life choices. Furthermore, Usha's tenure at the firm overlapped with its advocacy on progressive legal issues, including efforts related to LGBTQ+ rights, racial justice, and corporate diversity policies, stances that do not align with the broader conservative movement that J.D. Vance now champions. Defenders of Usha Vance maintain that a person's legal career does not necessarily bind them to a personal political ideology. Many lawyers, especially those from top-tier colleges like Yale Law School, choose to work with prestigious firms for career building, money, and goodwill rather than for ideological compatibility. Further, it is not uncommon for spouses in a political marriage to support one another's quarrels and separate professional identities, and Usha's decision to join the elite firm does not imply believing in its ideological stand. Supporters highlight that J.D. himself has benefited hugely from elite institutions of education and 2 years in venture capital, making their criticisms of Usha somewhat inconsistent. Regardless, much of the conversation revolves around Usha's past experiences in law, which stand in stark contrast to the working-class, anti-elitist image that J.D. Vance presents, thus making it a topic of sustained political scrutiny. Public defense of family amid controversies. Usha Vance has played a quiet but significant role in publicly defending her family amid controversies surrounding her husband, J.D. Vance. While she largely stays out of the political spotlight, she has spoken up on key occasions to counter criticisms and provide a more personal perspective on their family life. As J.D. Vance's political career has advanced, he has faced scrutiny over his shifting political views, past statements, and policy positions. Usha's measured responses have helped humanize him, portraying their family as thoughtful and grounded despite the political attacks they face. One of the most notable moments of Usha's public defense came after J.D. Vance's controversial "childless cat ladies" remark, in which he criticized elite leaders without children. The comment was met with backlash, especially from women who felt it was dismissive and exclusionary. Usha stepped in to clarify the intent behind his words, explaining that J.D. was making a quip about the challenges of parenting in modern America rather than attacking women without children. Her response helped diffuse the situation by presenting J.D. as someone who values families rather than someone who disrespects those without children. Beyond policy dramas, Usha has also defended her family from racist attacks and online degenerate harassment. As an Indian woman, she has often attracted racially motivated criticism from far-right extremists, leading to a debate regarding her place in conservative politics. While J.D. Vance has openly and strongly condemned these attacks, her presence and dignity in such a hostile environment have served as a quiet but effective rebuttal. Comparing other political spouses. Usha Vance has often been compared to other political spouses, especially those with diverse backgrounds and professional accomplishments. As the wife of a rising Republican figure, her role in J.D. Vance's political career has drawn parallels to other high-profile women, including Vice President Kamala Harris, Melania Trump, and Michelle Obama. Like Harris, Usha has an Indian heritage and a legal background, making her a unique figure within the conservative movement. However, unlike many political spouses, she has largely avoided public speeches or active campaigning, maintaining a low profile despite her influence. One major distinction between Usha and other political spouses is her reluctance to engage in overt political advocacy. Many Republican candidate spouses, such as Casey DeSantis and Karen Pence, have taken on public-facing roles, speaking at rallies and actively supporting their husbands' campaigns. Usha, on the other hand, has chosen to remain behind the scenes, focusing on her legal career and family rather than becoming a political surrogate. This approach has drawn comparisons to Melania Trump, who also avoided the traditional expectations of a political spouse and preferred to stay out of the spotlight. In some respects, she is viewed as one of the most clever and powerful figures in J.D. Vance's life, given her background as an attorney educated at Yale and her clerkship with former Chief Justice of the Supreme Court John Roberts. The parallels between Usha and Michelle Obama, another high-profile attorney who transitioned to a more public life, have led to questions of whether Usha might one day step into a grander political role. While Mrs. Obama actively co-created policy initiatives, Usha appears to exercise a more understated yet impactful influence on J.D.'s political outlook and decision-making strategies with her legal acumen. In the end, Usha Vance represents a new brand of Republican political spouse, one not so easily pigeonholed. She exhibits traits of both Democratic and Republican first ladies, but her pattern of staying out of the limelight puts her in a parallel category altogether. As J.D. Vance continues his ascent into national politics, all eyes will be on whether she stays a private figure or formally steps into the public arena. For now, in a world where the spouse of a politician is expected to be dynamic, her brilliance, discretion, and interesting background present her as an intriguing study. Her understated yet significant influence places her in a unique position among political spouses, leaving open the question of whether she will continue to operate behind the scenes or eventually step into a more public role as J.D. Vance's career progresses. What's next for Usha Vance? As J.D. Vance continues to climb the ranks of the Republican Party, many are wondering what's next for Usha Vance and what role she will play in his political future. So far, she has maintained a low profile, choosing to focus on her family and legal career rather than stepping into the political spotlight. However, as her husband's national presence grows, the pressure for her to take on a more public role, whether as a campaign figure, policy advocate, or behind-the-scenes strategist, may increase. If J.D. Vance continues to rise within the GOP, Usha could find herself in a position similar to that of other influential political spouses, such as Casey DeSantis or even Melania Trump. Some speculate that she may embrace a more visible role, using her legal expertise and sharp intellect to shape discussions around key conservative issues. Others believe she will remain in the background, supporting her husband's ambitions privately while focusing on her own career and family. Perhaps Usha might return to practicing law with more prominence, either in the private sector or through policy and judicial advocacy. Having impressive credentials, such as clerking for Chief Justice John Roberts, Usha would be taken seriously as a legal mind by those in conservative circles, quite likely to influence judicial appointments and constitutional law conversations, not to mention Supreme Court advocacy. Whether she will embark on this course in life or choose to remain entirely outside of politics remains to be seen. Thank you so much for watching. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe for more content like this. We'd love to hear your thoughts, so leave us a comment below. And make sure to check out the next video on the screen, you won't want to miss it.